Jesus is really picky about me because I believe that I am adding to the biblical canon. By the way, the second audiobook in the Bible for Tribulation Saints audiobook series is out at Audible, and I will have the links to that underneath this video. And I opened up this video with a sample from it. Actually, I think I'm going to end the video with it. Um, you may wonder why Jesus gave me the Gale commandments, which is actually quite a challenge for a human being to follow. They're pretty demanding. It's actually like a part-time job that I have to do every day to do the Gale commandments. Like I just cut my hair. Jesus won't let me. What's really amazing is that I'm on a super duper tight income. But Jesus has given me the skills and the talents I need to survive on this income. Like I'm good at cooking from scratch, and I cut my own hair. I color my own hair. In fact, I just gave myself a trim because I needed it. And I've learned actually just by watching videos online on how to cut my own hair. I've learned that I have to wet my hair down first before I cut it because I've got a bit of a wave to my hair. So I wet it down, then I eyeball it in the mirror and just kind of like even things out all around, including some layering that I do. So I've been doing this since 2015, so I'm getting pretty good at it now. But it's taken me a while. But I've learned that once it gets past like this length, when it goes here, to get a good cut, I need to wet it down because I've got some hairs that don't fall quite completely straight. So if I wet it down, I can see exactly where all the hairs are and where I need to chop. Just something that I've learned. Have you ever noticed if you're a lady, if you go to the beautician, they always wet your hair down? Well, that's why. Because nobody has perfectly straight hair when it falls down. So they got to wet it so that when they cut your hair, they actually cut the actual length of where your hair is at. So anyways, the Gale commandments are pretty demanding. And I'm finding that if I do big grocery shopping once every 6 or 7 weeks, then I'm able to have my welfare cover about 95% of my grocery costs. In other words, I don't spend more than 100 and maybe no more than $170 a month. I'd say more like $160 a month on food, total food costs. And you say, how do you do it? Well, like when I buy my cabbage, I dry it. I put it in plastic wrap. So actually, when I had my big grocery shopping 2 days ago, which is why I'm behind on making audiobooks, because actually grocery shopping on my big grocery shopping day that I do once every 6 or 7 weeks is a full-time job. So I get my cabbage, I dry it, put it in plastic wrap. The celery, I dry it, and then I wrap it in paper towels and aluminum foil, and that'll last me for a long time. That'll be enough celery to last me for 6 to 7 weeks. Sometimes I have to go in there and cut out the yellowing parts, but onions, I put them in a paper bag, roll it over, keep it at room temperature, and they will last for like 2 months if you get good onions at the beginning. Carrots, I dry them. I cut the ends. If you don't cut the ends, they start rooting and growing. So I cut the ends, then I wrap them in bubble wrap, and those carrots, once you do that, they'll last for about 2 months. Though you got to go, sometimes after about a month, you have to go in and dry them up. I don't know what it is about carrots, but after about a month of being in bubble wrap, liquid comes out of the carrots and it gets watery, so you have to go in there and dry them some more. Just sort of maintain the carrots so that they'll last. Green onions, you wash them, chop them up, freeze them, they'll last forever. Lettuce, wash them, dry them with paper towels, then wrap each individual lettuce with a paper towel and put them in Ziploc bags. They'll last you for 3 weeks and stay fresh the whole time. But the secret with lettuce is you got to take them off of you got to separate them all, wash them, dry them, wrap them each individually in paper towels. So you see, that takes a lot of time. So I have to work to make my food last. So that's the stuff I do. And then after that, I enter every single thing I bought at the grocery store on my Excel ledger to see exactly how much money I'm spending on each item and where I could possibly get a better deal. I shop at Walmart almost 95%, because their food, they have high quality produce, but they have the cheapest prices. I mean, like there's a Publix in my area, but I only go there to get laundry quarters because Publix, I mean, Walmart no longer gives me laundry quarters. So I do most of my shopping at Walmart. Walmart has just started a deal where you can pick up groceries and use your welfare to get the groceries. So I'm going to start you taking advantage of that, which is good because I can go online and see the prices and get the best deals and also see what they have on hand. Like they actually have dry coconut milk powder. See, like I don't buy fresh coconut milk, which I use with my meatloaf, because that'll go rotten within a week or two. If I get the dry coconut milk powder, then that lasts me a long time. So that's how I'm managing on a very, very tight budget. So, you know, Jesus says that I'm very important. And I used to think, and he told me at the beginning when he first started talking to me and Brent, that he would be giving Brent and I his semen. As far as I understand, we are the only humans he's going to give his semen to. And it'll be when we're in our resurrection bodies. I don't think a human in their natural state could withstand Jesus Christ's semen. I think it would overwhelm them. I think we would have to be in our resurrection bodies to be able to, take his semen. And Jesus said, I will be baby proof. He obviously doesn't want miniature. I don't think Jesus is going to be having any actual physical children. Can you imagine how dangerous that could be? It would be like a repeat of the Gale android, possibly. I mean, if Jesus actually had children, I mean, children in terms of like the way we humans reproduce and everything, the child would have supernatural strength. They would probably have singularity as their IQ. They could turn out to be very, and then the other half of them would be human. Like if they were like my children, it would be a disaster. Because that's probably why Jesus said, you're going to be baby proof in the millennium, Gale. Yes, you'll be getting my semen, but it is not I. He told us this in Bible for Tribulation Saints, by the way, who will be making love to you. It'll be Brent Spiner. It's just that Brent can switch testicles. One testicle will have Jesus' semen and another Brent Spiner semen. And I asked Jesus, will anybody else be getting your semen? He said, nope, just you and Brent. You might say, why? Now, this is the big question. Why is he doing this? And I think I finally figured out the answer. Because we're adding to the biblical canon. And do you realize that Bible for Tribulation Saints is the size of the Bible? It's no wonder he says I'm important. Adding to the canon's a big deal, folks. This is a super big deal. Satan doesn't like it. Now, I realize there are some theologians that will say the canon is closed and you're not adding to the canon. And you know what? I respect you for feeling that way. You got to be really careful about all these people claiming to be Jesus and adding to the canon, because most of them are satanic. They're frauds, they're counterfeits. They're not the real Jesus. But the real Jesus did speak to me, and we have added to the canon, which is probably why he's going to give Brent and I his semen, and also is probably why he's given me a Gale shield. Satan might have known this, and he's trying to mess it up. He doesn't want you to, he's got to get me portrayed as the crazy lady so that you will not, it's not really a big deal to me whether you believe Bible for Tribulation Saints has been added to the canon. Though I think Dallas Theological Seminary and some major evangelical seminaries have accepted that it is an addition to the canon. But what I do want you to know is that we have exact quotes from Jesus in there. And Jesus would only let Brent transcribe for him. He's very picky. Any word-for-word transcriptions only come from Brent, though he has allowed Zach Knight and Terrence Jenkins to paraphrase some things he said. But he obviously trusts me to represent him accurately. He's given me permission to make him a character in my books, which I don't think he does to very many people. So as long as you acknowledge that it's the real Jesus that's speaking in Bible for Tribulation Saints, that's good enough for me. You don't have to claim as an addition to the canon, though I think it is. Why else would Jesus be giving Brent and I his semen? We are illuminating the world with truth. So anyways, folks, I hope the audiobook, check the link underneath this video, order this audiobook. It's going to be, this is an addition to the canon. These are Jesus's real words. This book is powerful, man. It'll transform your life, just like the Bible. Gale at Church of Gale on May 31st, 2012. Hi, folks. This is an email I just received from Brent Spiner. My dearest Gail, we are nearing Earth. I can finally see our sun in the distance, so I know we are getting close. Thankfully, I have my laptop with me, or I wouldn't be able to communicate with you at all from here. I need to explain what happened now that we are finally safe. The Jesuits were continuing their open fire on our location. Not a second after I sent my last email to you, a massive explosion rocked the church, and I immediately felt myself being yanked through the air down the corridor. My flailing arms managed to snag a pylon for my body to cling to. I held my laptop in my teeth, refusing to let it go. I then looked behind me to see that the torpedoes had ripped a clean hole straight through our hull. With our shields down, we couldn't close it. To my horror, Matthew McConaughey and Jim Carrey, who had been only yards away from me when the hole was breached, had been sucked right out into space. I cried out their names. Hugh Jackman was in the same position as I, holding himself tightly against a railing a little further down the corridor. He too saw the plight of our men outside the church, their helpless bodies drifting away into the cold bleakness of space. That was when Hugh whipped out a rope. He tied one end to his waist and the other to the railing, then launched himself after the two men. I turned my hopeful gaze to watch him through the window. Hugh tread his arms forward like he was swimming through an ocean, gritting his teeth as his blood began to boil in the vacuum of space. Hugh Jackman is used to his blood boiling, so he was able to push through it. But Matthew McConaughey wasn't faring nearly so well. The vacuum was causing his body to swell like a balloon. Hugh swam faster and harder, and until finally he was able to grab Matthew by the leg. His free arm stretched to swipe Jim Carrey, but accidentally knocked him so hard he merely sent the man's body spinning in circles. "All righty then," Jim Carrey shouted, his body twirling endlessly through space until it disappeared. A tiny manly tear bubbled up from Hugh Jackman's eye and floated off into space, shimmering like a distant star. Unable to rescue Jim, Hugh had no choice but to turn back. Not far behind them, the Jesuit warship loomed. Moments later, there was a loud liquid burst and another explosion, causing the pylon I was holding to rattle and shake. The Jesuit warship had set off a massive new cocky. My head ached, and I realized our brain-to-brain servers had been knocked offline from the radiation. I was in anguish. How would I reach my love, my precious Gail, to tell her if anything happened to me? The next thing I knew, the corridor was being invaded with blobs of floating semen, and I was shaking my head, trying to keep the globules away from my face. By the time Hugh and Matthew got back to the ship, Matthew's body was so swollen it couldn't fit through the hull again. Hugh landed himself on the deck, returning his grip to the railing he had tied himself to. With a heavy grunt, Hugh strained, pulled, and lodged Matthew into the hole behind him, plugging up the deck. I felt myself crash to the floor as the atmosphere on the deck stabilized. That was when Vladimir came running down the corridor, shouting to see if we were all right. I could see that he was drenched in semen, and he was holding his eye. All three of us nodded and told him we were okay. "We have to get out of here," I told Vladimir, but Vladimir shook his head. We had much larger issues at stake than our church being destroyed. He pointed with his free hand to the Jesuit warship out the window. This warship, he said, was part of a massive project. In fact, his intelligence team had known about this for quite some time. "Look at the top of that warship and tell me what it looks like," Vladimir said. I gazed out the window and opened my mouth in shock. Is that, I began to ask, and Vladimir solemnly nodded. It was just like the handheld version, only longer, girthier, more solid than steel, and the Jesuits had installed it on the very crest of their warship. There it was right in front of my eyes,